live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. It's the full CHGO White Sox crew with you. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. The man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson, him at Ecknerwall23, and Vinny at Vinnie Duber, him being Herb. We're being produced today by Sarah.
Hello.
Hello. And hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We have a ton of fun coverage coming your way. We saw Adam Hogue and Cole Kmet pre-recording the 85 over in London, so that should be coming out very soon.
Intercontinental.
Yes. We are worldwide. Wide. We have a ton of stuff coming out from London. Sarah is going across the pond soon, tomorrow morning, to be over there. So a ton of great stuff coming out from CHGO. Make sure you stick in tune. We have shows on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week at 4 p.m. So if you're looking for White Sox coverage, come here. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Buck Showalter. A recent report leads us to believe that Buck Showalter is interested in the manager's job. We'll see if the White Sox are interested in Buck Showalter. We'll talk about the White Sox and the Miami Marlins being the only places currently in town with managerial openings. What does that do for the Chicago White Sox? And then finally, maybe we'll get into a little bit of this horrific baseball news. Manny Machado threw a baseball. You're not into it.
I don't have a lot to say about it other than...
All right, we won't get into it.
Well, I mean, we'll see. Maybe we will.
All right, let's get into the Buck Showalter news. Via Keith Law's live chat on The Athletic from October 4th, Keith wrote this. I wrote about the White Sox future in a piece last week on the 23rd. There's pitching coming. Getz is trying to overhaul some areas of the organization that have stagnated for years. Simply having Kevin Williams out of the picture helps too. One thing I heard that I would hate for them is that Buck Showalter is angling for the manager's job, giving his propensity to interfere in player development. He's the wrong hire for that position. I think if people look at his Wikipedia page like we have been, you could see a
deep dive,
a burgeoning Yankees team that he was the manager of from 92 to 95, also making a Seinfeld appearance.
Yeah.
A Arizona Diamondbacks team that was just on the precipice of winning a World Series, being ousted the year before they hit that peak, being the manager of a very young Rangers team from 03 to 06, his longtime stint as the Orioles manager from 10 to 18 when they were kind of turning things around as well, and then just most recently with the Mets from 2022 to 2023. Four-time Manager of the Year winner.
That's wild.
4 different decades.
That's even wilder.
He's the share of baseball managers. I mean, what are we thinking about? 68-year-old.
It sounds like Buck Showalter is trying to turn back time. If you ask me,
look at you.
Perfect. You put that one on a tee for me.
Yeah, you did.
Listen, we're seeing this all over baseball the last few years, right? These guys who've been doing this a long time, they don't really want to stop doing it. Terry Francona introduced as the manager of the Reds yesterday, a year after he retired, right? Mm-hmm. Bruce Bochy won the World Series after coming out of retirement last year. Obviously, Tony La Russa here on the south side of Chicago did the same thing a few years back. These guys don't really want to stop managing Major League Baseball teams. And so obviously to hear that someone like Buck Showalter is interested in an open job doesn't really surprise me. We've talked over and over again about how coveted these jobs are. You might laugh at a team like the White Sox or like the Marlins, the two teams that have openings right now, and say, oh, man, who would want to steer that ship? And you know what? There's a bunch of guys raising their hands because there are a bunch of guys out there who would love to manage a Major League Baseball team, whether it be for the first time or for the 6th time, right? And so I don't think you can ever count this out. But I don't believe Buck Showalter is going to have a mutual feeling from the White Sox. I just go back to, again, we have heard so little about the White Sox managerial search, be it the list of candidates or even what they're looking for specifically. But the one criteria that Chris Getz laid out and then stuck to was they want somebody who is currently working for a Major League Baseball team in uniform. That means a manager or a coach of a current team. I don't know. Certainly Buck Showalter isn't doing that. He has done it plenty of times for many, many years, but I think right now they want somebody who's a little bit more modern, and that's not even a knock on Buck Showalter's thinking, right? It's just the idea of we're going to take somebody who was working yesterday and put them to work tomorrow, and I think that's really where Chris Getz and the White Sox are centering this search.
make it clear that you could do worse than Buck Showalter. As Sean said, 4-time manager of the year. I think of him as just Dusty Baker before Dusty Baker went to Houston. A guy who went to a bunch of different stops, improved the play of the players there, and then has a time. Like there's a grading factor, and the players just don't listen to his message anymore. And that's why you see the first 2 stops he had immediate success right after he left. But he laid the foundation. As a taskmaster, as an old school baseball guy, I could see why maybe the White Sox would look at him and say that would be the perfect guy for the White Sox to move from this rebuilding phase into maybe a new, more modern manager after Buck, washes his way out of here. But also, I think, as Vinnie just stated, like you can't have Chris go back on his word after he said our next manager is somebody who's in clothes right now, major league clothes right now. And Buck will be coming off the street, and I would say, if you're going to do that, you already got McDonald's at home. Even though it's detestable to most White Sox fans, I would take Tony La Russa, a person that's been involved with the White Sox for years, over Buck Showalter, who's been sitting on his tuchus for the last couple of years. Now, that being said, I don't want either of the 2 guys. I want Chris to stay the course and interview every single person that is in uniform that he thinks is a qualified person. Even if that's Grady Sizemore, I would actually take Grady Sizemore more over Buck Showalter because at least he's young, hip, knows what the team wants to do, and also I think amenable listening to what Chris Getz in the front office would want to do. Buck's coming here, and you think he's listening to Chris Getz? After a while, he's got a contract. He's a veteran. He's like, hey, how about we do more analytical stuff, Buck? And Buck's like, no. That's not how I manage. You hire Buck Showalter, and you're going to get Buck Showalter type of managing. And so I think his style of managing is in the past. He's done a great job for himself. And like Vinnie said, it is a very rare job. And these guys would love to do this. And even a big project like the White Sox seemed to be, I'm sure Buck Showalter's saying, hey, this is a legacy piece. If I can get this team back from the worst losses in the Major League history to somewhere competent.
Well, I'll just say, too, like, I think an interesting thing to note is that Buck Showalter's age might jump out at you, but he's not removed from the game like Tony La Russa had been and I shouldn't even say removed from the game. I should say removed from the manager's chair like Tony La Russa had been for a decade by the time the White Sox brought him back. Buck Showalter managed 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not even sure that it's about a critique on his style or the job that he would do in general. It just doesn't seem to fit the White Sox, right? Because like you just said, you hire Buck Showalter to get Buck Showalter.
Yeah.
The thing that jumped out for me the most about what Chris Getz said when he was talking about the next manager is that he wants a partner. He wants somebody that is going to be a part of this rebuilding process. And when you hire Buck Showalter or anybody of that caliber, right, or anybody of that resume, that accomplishment, you're doing that because you're like, yeah, I like that. I want that guy, right? Mm-hmm. It's less come aboard and join what we've already got going. So I don't think it's even that this discussion or the dismissal by us of Showalter as a potential candidate for the White Sox is even about him as much or about him being a negative choice as much as it is. He just doesn't seem to fit the what Chris Getz says to be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you bring up Dusty Baker, I mean, Dusty Baker was stepping into an organization that had all the underbelly stuff figured out. I mean, the White Sox are closer to the 2011 Astros than, I don't know when Dusty took over, but 2014 or so?
After the whole fiasco with the cheating.
After Hinch left. So
oh, yeah, right.
21 so was Dusty's first year.
Yeah.
21, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, 2020.
Yeah. 2020 was Dusty's first year at the Astros.
I mean, even then, I mean, they kind of had everything figured out.
They did.
Like, you're trying to figure things out now. And Buck is not that guy. And you bring up Grady. Like, it seemed like all the players are like, wow, Grady Sizemore. I used to have his baseball card growing up. And it's like, oh, wow, Buck Showalter. He managed Darryl Boston in the 1993 Yankees. Like, what is the draw?
I mean, they know Debo, though.
Well, that's why I used Debo and not like
that might be a little bit better than you're thinking there.
That's why I used Debo and not like Wade Boggs.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that the vast majority of the people in that clubhouse are too young to have seen Buck Showalter's Seinfeld episode, even
me included. That's one of the ones I haven't gotten to. But yeah, I mean, it does not seem like the right fit. And even when Keith brings up, him holding back young players with given his propensity to interfere in player development, you could look to his last year with Mark Vientos, and he consistently was playing Brett Beatty and Eduardo Escobar consistently, and even Mark Canha over Vientos. And Vientos struggled as a rookie. 58 OPS plus in 16 games in 2022, 65 games in 2023, 69 OPS plus, but now he's one of the most important players for the Mets in this playoff run. 135 OPS plus this year for Vientos, and I think he's got 2 homers in the postseason already. Yeah.
On Sunday, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's the right guy. Like, if Showalter's goal is World Series, then what's attractive to the White Sox about, World Series?
You can't win a World Series sitting at home.
Yeah.
True, but I mean.
Or sitting on MLB Network or whatever he is now, yeah.
But like 4 years from now, will you be even having a team that, is competing? It just doesn't even seem like the right timeline.
Well, and that's why I bring up that partner comment, because the idea is that, like, when you buy into this White Sox thing, or even with what they're doing down in Miami, if you want to point to another, organization that is in a similar spot, you're not just signing up for the time, you're signing up for the work, right? You're signing up for the idea that you got to get this from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. And it might take a long time to do that. If you're coming to win a World Series, you're going to play to win tomorrow, right? I mean, like, I think you need somebody who not only wants to obviously win and turn this team into a winner, but wants to do it the way Chris Getz has planned out to do it. Because, I mean, we can talk about how weird and out of and kind of jarring and everything that the Tony La Russa hire was. Tony La Russa wanted the White Sox to win. Mm-hmm. I just think that it didn't align with the plan that had been put in place before that. And so if you're going to do that again, that it just doesn't make any sense.
And I also think that Buck is probably just getting his name back out there. Like, maybe he doesn't have necessarily the White Sox in mind because it is a long project for him, but he wants to let the rest of the people know, hey, I'm out here. I'm interested in the job of the White Sox. And if the White Sox don't hire me, Marlins, what are you guys talking about? Or if you guys want to fire your manager currently, like some of these players teams in the playoffs might want to do, hey, Buck Showalter's here. I'm a steady hand. I'll get your team from A to B, maybe not C, though. Like, because there's a lot of teams that are like, oh, man, that manager just didn't get the job done. I'm looking at Baltimore, even though they've already had Buck Showalter. They might need of a manager that's different than the guy that's there right now in Brandon Hyde, but not Buck Showalter.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's weird because he's won 4 Manager of the Year awards. Like, it seems like he's gotten some things done in the organization that he's gone to. Yeah, in every single organization, he's won an award. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he hasn't gotten to that precipice with the team World Series-wise. Like, I don't think of him as, like, a cutting mind in baseball. Like, I don't think there's a huge attraction to bringing in Buck Showalter. So, I don't know. It's weird. Jared brings up, I always thought Chris said in another uniform. I think
initially he did, and
yeah.
Then the first name that anybody heard him talk about as a candidate was in a White Sox uniform.
Yes, and we were going to put all of the candidates that we've heard so far out there, the guys that want the job, the guys that are actual candidates, Buck Showalter and Ozzie Guillen want the job but likely won't be actual candidates. We can think of Skip Schumacher as a candidate, Clayton McCullough we could think of as a candidate, and now Chris Getz moved Grady Sizemore from, begging in Merck's newsletter to get to be the job and considered to now being considered. We're going to take a break. I do have a McCullough quote that I feel like we missed over or glanced over, and we'll talk about the White Sox and their current opening managerial search. But Vinny is going to let you know about Empire first.
It's carpet time. With Empire today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and that low price guarantee. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, or speed, so competitors advertise low quality products that Empire simply will not carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they would not put in theirs. Empire keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not to overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each and every year to find the perfect styles. Check out Empire's virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Here we go. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code CHGO. Restrictions do apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details. 588-822-300 Empire.
Today. Yeah, we weren't in sync on that one.
Nope.
We also want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, and they have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. I know I mentioned summer, but it's still like 75 degrees out.
Beautiful.
Summer
Beautiful
weather.
day.
Stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco or Floracal. And you can head over and pick up Mindy Siegel's award-winning chocolates if you like their edibles. Maybe you can go get a pen if you want. Go visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% for your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Use promo code HICHGO for 50% off your first 3 online purchases over at Sunnyside.shop. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. Jared mentioning in the chat, he already went back on a statement. Why wouldn't he again?
I'll add to that when he did obviously say that Grady was going to be under consideration, breaking his rule that it was going to be somebody in another uniform. He did say that the search was going to remain focused on people who were in other uniforms. I offer that just as the latest update.
I mean, also, like, I don't know, like that was the thought, and I think it was more Grady was a placeholder, and I think maybe Grady made more of an impression than he thought he would.
They've been very happy with what Grady did, and I still don't think that, like Chris said, that I don't think that gives him a leg up on anybody else. I think there's a lot of focus from folks like us and folks like fans because Chris Getz hasn't said anybody else's name, right? And we have barely even reported anybody else's name. So we're going to focus, obviously, on the people who we've heard about. But I think they were very happy with the job that Grady did, with the way he was received in the clubhouse. And I think they're throwing some credence to that by saying, all right, why don't we think about that and see how it stacks up with everybody else?
And I hear what you're saying, Jared, but one can change their mind when presented with new information. And he was presented with new information from both feedback from the players and what he saw personally with what Grady did in his short stint as the manager. So he can hey, initially I went out for a different uniform, but, I might have McDonald's at home.
I also wonder how important the job is in general. I mean, we've always said the manager doesn't matter, and then the manager that I hated the most won them 93 games. So I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know how much it matters because we are talking about a manager that when they are in their competitive window might not even be here. I mean, we're truly talking about a placeholder. So I don't even know how important of a hire this is if he's more focused on scouts in the Dominican and Cuba, Venezuela, et cetera. Like, that might be more of an important task than finding the next Joe Schmo.
I always think the manager's most important role is in the clubhouse, and we saw how the clubhouse deteriorated under Pedro Grifol. So that is a huge difference. I don't think the everyday in-game stuff is actually mattering, but I think an A to B manager is very valuable. We were talking about Ricky Renteria, and before the show, ask the Cubs. Like, they gave him a ring because he did things with that team in 2015 before they fired him that led them to the 2016 championship. And I think
14.
that 2014, or when they win, the 16?
Yeah, they won in 16.
But but did Madden take the job in 15?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the year before. So they gave him a ring to say, hey, man, we appreciate what you did from that young team to this veteran team. And yes, we had to fire you because Joe Madden was on the market. So sorry. And I think the same thing he did with the White Sox led them to the playoffs. And Rick saw a limiting factor in what Ricky Renteria brought to the table. The analytics weren't there, and he wasn't the guy. And that third game probably solidified his opinion about Ricky Renteria. But I think, yeah, A to B manager is very valuable, especially for the White Sox to start off this whole next thing And that person needs to be, I think, also amenable to what Chris Getz in the front office want to do. So a Buck Showalter wouldn't fit into that.
I just have one thing to add because it's just you bring up the analytics for Ricky, but like we just heard that the analytics were crap. I mean, what was even Ricky Renteria getting? Could he even base his decisions off of analytics?
Well, that's what I was kind of going to say is that I don't think in either of those situations it was about Ricky, right?
No.
In the Cubs situation, it was about Joe Madden. In the White Sox situation, it was going to be about A.J. Hinch, right? I mean, I think the idea that the person who Chris Getz hires over the next few weeks to be the next White Sox manager might not be the guy who's the manager the next time they're a contending team. This might be and I hate to assign this to him because this isn't his fault, but maybe this is a Ricky Renteria job, right? Because you don't know who's going to be available 3 years from now, right? Or 4 years from now, or 2 years from now. We're talking before the show about, maybe what other openings might happen here this season, this playoffs. Is it just going to stay the White Sox and the Marlins, or do the Yankees decide we've had it with not being the Yankees, we've had it with not going to the World Series? Yes. Sorry, Aaron Boone, you're out of here. All of a sudden, Aaron Boone's available. You know what I mean? And a lot of people would think he would be a pretty good candidate. Maybe the Los Angeles Dodgers are like, we just spent the GDP of a small nation on free agents last offseason. Dave Roberts, you lost in our first round again. Now all of a sudden Dave Roberts is available, right? And so I don't mean that for the White Sox. I just mean that those situations happen every year, every other year. You don't know who's going to be available the next time this White Sox team needs to have that guy to take them to the championship level. It might not be the next guy that they hire.
I'm trying to think of what I mean, both those guys, yeah, but I think Doc would be a White Sox candidate immediately. I don't know if I would want Aaron Boone out there for the White Sox.
He did that funny thing where he struck out the umpire, right?
Yeah,
that was funny.
At guaranteed rates.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah,
I don't mind Boone. I know it's kind of
he's six of those people
different, but yeah, I'd be fine with Dave or Boone. I mean, they're coming from the biggest operations, and it would be great to learn from the Dodgers or Yankees. So, I mean, I don't know how important it is, but Boone's dealt with New York media for 8 years now, 2018 to 2024, 7 years, 6 years, whatever that is.
6.
And he's survived. He looks like a president at this point after a 6-year term. But I mean, he's done a really good job, I think.
But not a Yankees job though. Hadn't brought home the gold yet. 28 is waiting.
Yeah, but still, I mean, overall, I mean, like, I don't think that's his fault. I mean,
it's not, but he might lose his job for it.
Oh,
right? No, but I don't mind. At least him coming to the Sox, like, I don't mind that. Like, I don't think there's any red flags with.
Oh no,
with Aaron Boone.
No, I just like if we're going to be doing a rebuild team, I don't know if he's the guy for it. Dave Roberts has been with the Padres when they were young, and they decided not to go with him. They went with Andy Green instead, and the Dodgers immediately snapped him up. And so I know that he has development in his past and a temperament that is conducive to a young team and patience, but also, which we'll get to a little bit later, dumbness. Just really dumb.
Let's move into what Bruce Levine reported. This was also part of Sox on 35th's report on Buck Showalter. An anonymous American League coach told Bruce Levine, and I didn't read this part in his piece, I was told not to get my hopes up for the White Sox manager job. They love McCullough and think with his background and pedigree, he is the perfect manager to help develop and grow with the young group they are building there. Is this kind of a snake in the grass here with Clayton McCullough?
I mean, it's not the first time that Bruce has mentioned him in reporting either. So, I mean, to be able to have another name on this list, it makes sense. And listen, maybe they do want that guy who can be, the next Kevin Cash or something like that, who just is perfect for this situation and then himself grows into the guy who can take them further on. I was bringing up the situation I was earlier just to say that anything is possible because we don't know exactly who they're looking for, but trying to find that next guy is what the White Sox did with Pedro Grifol, right? He was a guy who paid all those dues. He was a guy who led a player development department in Seattle. He was a guy that was along for the ride with very successful teams, albeit briefly, in Kansas City, and paid his dues as an assistant. And the White Sox said, that's the next guy. That's the up-and-coming guy. Didn't work out. But maybe this guy coming from the Dodgers, certainly you got to love the organization that he's come from in terms of the success that they've had on all fronts, whether it's spending, developing, whatever. So it makes sense that guy would be a candidate. It's just when you're picking somebody like that, kind of up off the, the first-time manager pile.
Yep.
You don't know what you're going to get. And I think Pedro Grifol is a great example of it. I think White Sox fans, as much as they make fun of the kick your ass comment now, were very enamored with Pedro Grifol when he had that opening press conference. Now, seen as part of the reason that they have sunk so low by so many people, Andy McCullough's, or what's his first name?
Andy McCullough is the Dodgers beat writer. Clayton McCullough is the Dodgers bench coach.
Well, I knew I was going to screw that up. Clayton McCullough has basically the same resume. Now, obviously with a different story, but he's had a lot of those jobs as well. And so is that going to get folks excited? No. Is the job to get folks excited? No. It's to pick the right guy for the job. So if they like that guy, go out and get him.
Well, I think, too, just to jump in, they were hiring from the Royals organization before the Royals even went into the whole analytics thing, too. I mean, we just heard about Piccolo kind of revamping this team.
They won back-to-back pennants, which I think was helpful.
That was, 10 years ago. I mean, that's close to the Yankees' last pennant.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like the idea of going and getting someone from the top organization, and McCullough is that. And hey, if it's Dave Roberts and Clayton McCullough is the bench coach, let's go.
The only pause I have with Clayton McCullough is that he is coming from the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are the gold standard of franchises. Like, they treat their minor leagues correctly. They have development in those minor leagues. That's why they just have different people coming up every once in a while, because they have a system that has worked for years on end. And him coming here might be a thing where he's like, oh, yeah, they don't have half the stuff that we had at the Dodgers. And part of my job and why I was so successful is because the Dodgers made me want for nothing and everything was in front of me. I could just do my job. This job is going to be a little harder than he understands and is used to. And so that's the only pause I have, because the Dodgers, yes, successful, unless he's bringing all the stuff that he had in LA and in the minor league system of the Dodgers to the White Sox, which I think was part of the pause on Joe Espada, and also Joe Espada was going to get the Houston job anyways. I would have a little pause on the actual person of Clayton McCullough, because he's used to the gold standard.
That makes sense, but I think I think you could make that exact same case a positive in saying he is bringing that stuff up here.
Okay.
Yeah, he might not have he might be dropped into a job where he doesn't have the resources that he did before. He doesn't have the machine working as well as it was before, but at least he knows how the machine works.
Yes.
And he can tell the White Sox, hey, this is what we – no, I'm serious.
No, that's a good point.
This is what we did here, and this is what we did here. This is what worked here. Let's do a little bit more of this. Let's do a little bit more of that. And to be honest, that's something that the White Sox should be able to glean at least a little bit from just interviewing the guy, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, what are you going to do if you get the job? Well, a lot of the stuff that we did over in the Dodgers. Oh, well, we maybe not think this is the guy, but we sure like that idea. Like, that's the whole point of going through this interview process, something that they have eschewed in other opportunities, be it when La Russa was hired or be it when Getz was promoted, right? To be able to just interview these guys, and a lot of them, I think, helps in that department.
And I'm with Jared, too, where he says, that's why it would be a good thing he'd be telling Chris everything that's missing. What we've heard from all of these not hit pieces, but,
national pieces.
That's what I like to call how bad the White Sox are. They talk about how much Jerry is willing to spend. So if there are things that are missing, let's go and buy them if Jerry's so willing to spend. I think it's a great challenge and test for the White Sox to go and prove, hey, we aren't going to half-ass these things. We need to fix our entire organization. Let's go fix it.
If that's the case, and they're going to be acquiescing and looking to get better because of Clayton or somebody else coming in saying you're missing a bunch of stuff, let's build this out, I'm in. But also, I know the White Sox, so that's why I have a little pause.
Let's take a break. We're going to let you know about where to watch the White Sox Bulls and Blackhawks. We'll also let you know about some cool sunglasses.
We're sponsored by Chicago Sports Network, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core. They'll be bringing every corner of Chicago across the 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more information on how to watch Bulls, Hawks, and Sox games all season long. That was for you, Ellie. Go to chsn.com to see how you can watch it.
Yeah, the one thing, if he is in Israel, I don't think he's.
The internet still works,
right? But I don't think he's getting over the antenna.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna have to be adjusting those rabbit ears just for a long time.
We want to let you know about our friends over at Shady Rays too. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. And they have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, you can also exchange them for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. I need to take a sip of water.
All good.
Ugh. All right.
Did you go over there to like spit a tooth out or something?
I blew my nose.
You were moving.
I had to blow my nose.
Wow.
I thought maybe you had a
Behind the
dental
scenes, everyone.
emergency.
No, a nostril emergency. All right. So,
Great band name.
nostril emergency. Looking at the playoff bracket, do you think, they announced Hyatt's coming back, right? The Orioles? I don't think there was any news that they're moving away from him.
No.
I can't imagine
I haven't
they would.
heard anything.
Quacharo is just recently
Correct.
put in helm, and they did great, so he's not going to go anywhere. Astros, I don't think they move on from Espada.
Nope.
Tigers aren't moving on from Hinch.
Nope.
Vogt just got there in Cleveland. So Yankees, Dodgers, your guy, it's Schilt.
No, Schultz going to be there forever.
All right.
Forever.
So,
Forever.
And then the Mets, they just hired Alvarez.
Yeah, he's there.
And,
Mendoza.
Mendoza,
Yeah.
my bad. And then
Mendoza.
it was almost a White Sox guy. And then the Phillies have Rob Thompson, who went to the World Series, NLCS, and now is in the DS. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. So it's really just Dodgers or Yankees. Like, those are the only other teams that you'd be competing against. And if those guys became the manager of the White Sox, either Roberts or Boone, I'm not upset. And if those guys get hired, I think they're probably looking to Skip Schumacher.
I would downshift to Skip Schumacher in a second. Like, I want to hire him immediately. I think he will be
For the Sox?
Yeah, he'll be a good choice for the White Sox. Like, I think if you look at that team on paper for the Marlins that he took to 83, 84 wins and got into the wild card, that team is no great shakes themselves. Yes, they had a top of the rotation starter. We also have a top of the rotation starter currently, but it's going to be going away. And when that top of the rotation starter went away, so did the wins the next year, and so did some of the players that got traded away. Jazz is now playing in New York. The same thing with John Birdie. So I would think the guy would be exactly what the White Sox need to do and establish a culture in here. And the White Sox do love their Missouri baseball style. So either it's in Kansas City or where Skip Schumacher and Tony La Russa usually come from, St. Louis. They would love and embrace that style. So I think he would be a perfect fit for a bridge manager, as Jared calls him there. But I also think a manager that can break through the bridge and be the next guy too when the White Sox are actually good.
If you're Skip Schumacher, are you gonna make your decision on whether you go work for the White Sox before you know whether the Dodgers might be calling?
Absolutely not. He played for the Dodgers. He's from Southern California. I'll be waiting for that job immediately. If the Padres find a way to kick the Dodgers out, I think that's more than likely Dave Roberts leaves if the Padres again get the best of the Dodgers, especially when you have the best player in baseball.
Yeah, but there's still a fairly decent amount of excuses for a team that's spending that much money. They spent $325 million on Yamamoto. He's not there. You have basically no starter outside of.
He started on the first game.
True, but for the large part of the season, he wasn't there. And you're dealing with a
pretty much the whole starting rotation's gone for the Dodgers.
Same old story.
It sucks, but I guarantee he will be the person, the fall guy. Was it a couple years ago?
Why does there have to be a fall guy? It's just baseball. The Dodgers have a great baseball team that consistently wins 100 games.
Because this is how it works. Because I mean, listen, the teams like the Dodgers, teams like the Yankees have different expectations than every other team in baseball, right? I mean, I'll put it to you this way: if the White Sox were to have recently, gone to the playoffs, given their general history and expectation, you would say, what a managerial job. That guy's never going anywhere. He's one of the best managers they've ever had. And you'd be correct, right? When you're the Dodgers or the Yankees, when you don't win a World Series, you have not reached the expectations. And that sucks for those players and those guys that are part of that organization, because they probably did a bang-up job in winning all those games and making it to the playoffs, but the expectation level is different. And so, because we always say you can't fire the players who you gave hundreds of millions of dollars to in a contract, you can fire the manager. And so those guys are easy scapegoats. It shouldn't be that way, but that's how it is. And the expectation level is different in those two places than it is everywhere else.
And just think about last year, and I'll go back to the Padres. They had Bob Melvin for 2 years, and they fell short of expectations last year, even though the metrics showed that they should have been a playoff team. They, I think, had a run differential over 100 runs. And they were like, cool, Bob, you can get out of here, because there was mistrust. There was some unrest in the clubhouse. And so they let him go to San Francisco quickly and hired Mike Schilt to get a little bit more stability in that clubhouse. Bob Melvin's one of the best managers in the game, and they're just like, yeah, that's enough. 2 years, you did not do a good job. And if Dave Roberts has been there, how many years? 9, 10 years?
He's been there 9 years. Can I read you some stats?
Yeah.
Bob Melvin's managerial record is 1,597 to 1,507. That is a winning percentage of 51.4%. Jerry Dipoto, the recent the general manager of the Seattle Mariners, recently said this offseason that his goal is for that team to win 54% of their games each and every year, because in that way you have a chance to get into the playoffs. Dave Roberts, in 9 years as the Dodgers manager, is 851 to 506. Yeah. He has a win-loss percentage of 62.7. So he is 8.7% better than what the Mariners want their team to be. I understand that the expectations are the expectations, but baseball just kind of have crap luck, especially with the expanded playoffs. I don't think you can look at Dave Roberts and say he's doing a bad job as a manager. And if he becomes available, I would love if the White Sox got him. I mean, and I don't know if it's what's more appealing to you, the White Sox who preach about their longevity and their what's it called? Faith, loyalty in employees, or the Marlins who seem to get a new owner and new manager each and every single year. I mean, I think that at least with the lack of options, if Dave Roberts is a free agent, maybe teams make moves like the Orioles to free open a space. But I mean, if somehow the White Sox luck into Dave Roberts being their manager, I'll be thrilled. I don't think it happens. I think it's Grady Sizemore, but
other people would fire their manager if Dave Roberts is available.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the White Sox would be the bottom of that list. Yeah. So, I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think any of the guys that could be fired is what I'm saying. Any of the guys that could be fired from this playoff would be White Sox managers.
No.
I don't think Boone ends up being the guy. I think Boone's more likely to take a year off than being the White Sox manager, which is that the case for most people? Like, I think Skip is like pretty baseball-y. He mentioned something where
they all are. We're talking about the whole headline of the show is that Buck Showalter wants to be the White Sox manager.
It's true.
And it's tough to get back in once you leave. Like, especially if you're Skip Schumacher, like he's only had 2 years of managing. So if he takes a year off, like forget you in that cycle.
There was the quote that we read from Getz from the GM meeting. That starts with their approach on a day-to-day basis, being in the right place on the right time on the field, and more or less being baseball players going out there and working together, competing. One thing that Skip said, I think I brought up on Friday, or I might not have, he talked about people trying to find the unicorn, and that there's too much problems in youth baseball of trying to find the unicorn player that can, have all the 5 speed tools. And he was bemoaning the lack of baseball players that were being overlooked. So maybe there's a connection there with Skip and Chris Getz. Like, let's go find some grindy baseballers and build the best 26-man team of baseball players. I don't know. I think that
I know what he's saying.
The managerial thing, I think there is a way that Skip Schumacher could be the White Sox manager. I'd be excited for that. I think there's a way it's Grady Sizemore. I don't think there's any way it's Buck Showalter.
They're just trying to get themselves, both Skip Schumacher and Chris Getz. They would love 26 of them.
Yes.
Middle infielders, outfielders, / grindy-ass players.
Even the pitcher. Drake saying, Buck's name is at the top of the list of guys to stay away from. So thank you, Drake, for that. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Our pal Melissa Sage Bodenbach has put out a piece recently previewing the Arizona Fall League, and that started today. The Glendale Desert Dogs, I'm not used to saying these teams, and the Peoria Javelinas.
Peoria?
Oh, Peoria?
Peoria.
Is it Peoria?
It's Peoria.
I thought you put the two, like a different name, a pejorative and Peoria together.
Oh, is it?
It is Peoria.
Okay, my bad. For some reason, I thought there was.
I've had some. I went to a strip mall taco place in Peoria that was very good.
Arizona?
Is that the?
It's the
place
town right north of Glendale.
That's the place you were talking about in a couple of spring training places, right? That you'd love to go to that place.
That place is in Tempe.
Okay.
But they're all over the place. They're good.
To update you on the Arizona Fall League and the Desert Dogs, Michael Turner, not Burner Turner, the catcher, who I believe is a White Sox.
This is correct.
Yeah, Michael Turner, lefty hitter. He went yard for the Desert Dogs. He's also playing on a team with Encarnacion Strand. Our guy, Colson Montgomery's 2 for 2, playing third base. Matt McLean's also on this team, I believe, along with Tim Elko. Elko is 1 for 2 in the game. Most importantly, Grant Taylor started the game, 1 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks, and 1 homer. So Grant Taylor, a guy that I thought is maybe a dark horse for the starting rotation.
Get your work in.
Get your work in. That's why you're in the AFL.
Yeah. Longtime viewers of the program and listeners know my thoughts on spring training games. Yeah. So now we're doing live updates on Arizona Fall League games.
Oof.
Oof is right.
I mean, you don't want to talk about Manny Machado harming Dave Roberts.
He didn't throw the ball very hard. He threw it into the dugout. Isn't that what you do?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Maybe he has to be like, hi, Dave, I'm going to roll the ball over.
I also love that this is what passes for a in-game controversy in baseball. Whereas in the Bears the other day, some garbage time touchdown and everybody's beating each other, hitting each other in the head and getting thrown out. And we have to talk about Manny Machado's intent when he rolled a ball back into the dugout.
It's dangerous.
It's just
feels like a George Carlin bit.
Threatened his life.
I mean, I just think the Padres are in the Dodgers' head and they just want to bitch about dumb stuff. They sent the tape to MLB to be reviewed. Just low class. You lost. You got housed the other days. Your fans acted like low class like they usually do. And then now you want to complain about Manny, a former Dodger himself, throwing a ball at the dugout. Not really, but if Manny Machado wanted to hit one of your players, do you think one of the best third basemen of all time could hit one of your players? He would do it perfectly.
And he got it into the actual confine, the actual walkout of the dugout. I mean, that's a pretty far bozo bucket shot. He nailed it.
Is it a dickish thing to do? Yes. It's Manny Machado. He's kind of a dick. And I don't know if it's AJ Brzezinski but people who are on his team love him. As you saw him gather his players up for a conference after all the balls were thrown on the field and they kind of lost focus. Hey man, lock in. Let's kill this team. And they did. They hit a bunch of home runs after that. But he's making no friends on the other side, and that's not his job. His job is to hit the baseball, catch the baseball, and to lead his Padres to the next round. And so that's what he's doing. And if he's getting all the attention on himself and making the Dodgers mad at him and maybe throw a ball at him, cool. I think Manny will take his base and then let the people behind him drive him in.
I'll bug you about this because it is Game 3. You are a Padres fan. Not
wearing it on today.
Thought you would have. Padres are the favorite. Michael King starting for them. Walker Buehler starting for the Dodgers. How are you feeling going into Game 3?
Real good. And I say his name like Michael Caine would say his name. Michael Caine. He's been dominant in the second half. His sweeper, fastball, he just has been a different dude. I'm sure the Yankees we traded that away for 1 year of Juan Soto, which we love, but that is a top of the rotation pitcher now, which the Yankees use sparingly, and he was hurt sometimes and new starter, sometimes reliever. Michael Caine has become top of the rotation for the Padres on a rotation that had Joe Musgrove, Dylan Cease, and you saw what Yu Darvish did the other day. So I have nothing but confidence and faith in the Petco Park is going to be on fire tonight, especially versus their main rival, the Dodgers. And I hope they don't be throwing trash like the Dodgers fans did.
Yeah, that'd be nasty. And shout out to the Mets. They're up 1-0, top of the third. Pete Alonso with a solo homer.
He's making himself some money this fall, ain't he?
Mm-hmm. Well, he wasn't. I mean, he was
I know.
awful.
Regular season didn't go so well.
He was horrible. And then, no, but even in the playoffs, like it was up until that last at-bat. Like he was just striking out, and then finally came through.
And that thing where they were like, hey, Devin Williams is kind of giving a tell. Like if his glove is this way and it's kind of open, that's a changeup. And that's what Pete Alonso looked at and he had that 3-1 changeup far. And that's all it takes. As we talk about, sometimes you just need to see the ball go through the hoop. Pete Alonso just needs to see the ball go over the fence. And now he's ready to go. He's playing his ass off and going to make a bunch of money for the Cubs next year.
Sarah, I sent a graphic in Slack, so just a heads up if you want to get that together if possible. Sarah mentioning, or Melissa mentioning in the chat, it was a bummer to see Cease and Rodon get rocked last night. Do we make anything of that Royals game? I know you were more bemoaning Bob Costas.
Yeah, it reminded me of Rodon's start versus the Houston Astros, 2021 here. He dominated the Astros early in that game, and then it just took one, I think it was Carlos Correa double to pretty much derail that whole start for Carlos Rodon. And Pedro Martinez on the broadcast said that when Rodon struck out those first 3 guys, and I think 4 out of his first 6 guys, he was expending energy on celebrating, on exalting, like, yeah, I'm good. And Pedro, as a veteran pitcher in the playoffs, knows that you need all your bullets, you need all your energy and all your focus to be on the next batter. And he thinks he pitched himself out and energized himself out by his exaltation, his yelling after those first inning strikeouts. It's like, it's way too early to be doing that. If that's a 6th inning, that's your last pitch, cool, do it. But otherwise, you need to keep your energy. That's for Cease. That's a Dodgers team, and that's Shohei Ohtani, which I don't understand. Like, does he understand that Shohei Ohtani? And the first time I think he saw Shohei Ohtani in Anaheim a couple years ago, he threw a high fastball, and Shohei Ohtani hit a ball on that ESPN mic that still sounds like a shotgun. He absolutely destroyed that ball, and that's what he did the other day. Like, I know Cease thinks that his 98 up top is unbeatable. That's a different dude. Go and look what Yu Darvish did to Ohtani the day after. That's how you pitch him. You pitch him all out, in, down, up, instead of trying to, hey, I'm going to challenge the best player in the world and get beat. Because he had a 3-0 lead and then started walking everybody, walked Will Smith, what really caused that inning to get out of hand. And, once you get hit by Ohtani, it's not the worst thing in the world because he's a great hitter. But I think also Dylan Cease created his own problems by trying to be a little too machismo. And it's like, I can get this 98 past him. And no, sir, no one can.
Is that what baseball players do when they have a good inning? They scream, yeah, I'm good.
I'm great. I did it. Look I did my job. I think they're just trying to match the hitters. When they hit a home run, they get all hyped up. But I think it's a game of emotions. You can't bring your emotions, especially as a pitcher. Steve Stones always says it. You got to stay steely and calm. And if you're even underneath, you're feeling a way, you got to stay that way the whole time until you're done.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like the Padres really locked into that and took all the stuff that was going on with the fans and really just turned that game around in a second. So maybe it's good for the hitters, but I don't know about the pitchers. And I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I'm looking at the Game 3 box or Game 4 box score of the ALDS. A strikeout looking for Carlos Rodon against Martin Maldonado. Then he hits Jose Altuve. Then a fly ball out, right, to center field for Michael Brantley. So it's 2 outs. And then Altuve steals. They walk Bregman. Alvarez gets walked. And then Correa drives in all of them.
That hurt.
Yeah. That hurt and ended the game.
Yeah.
I forgot Gavin Sheets' homer. In that
game.
He did. Whoa. I forgot that too.
Gave him a 1-0 lead. They were up 1-0 after the bottom second.
Man, we must have been hyped right there. It's like, oh, man, we just won Game 3. Going to win Game 4? No, sir.
No, that did not happen.
Such a long time ago, but not really.
It feels like forever ago.
3 years?
Goodness gracious.
Insane. Vinny, you were talking about it feels weird to look at spring training stats and even AFL stats while they're going on. Let's go to @TJ Stats, who put together the Stuff Plus from Grant Taylor's AFL debut.
Wow.
Grant Taylor threw 40.
He's even got the create a player, no picture up there.
Yeah,
Come on.
he does. Let's go at TJ Stats. Thomas
John Dow.
DeStisco is the best.
It's John Dow.
31 four-seamers thrown from Grant Taylor today. 8 cutters. You also got 6 curveballs, 3 sliders, 1 changeup. I wonder if that cutter and slider are similar pitches and just getting mislabeled. But really promising to see the slider, cutter, and four-seamer all above 100 TJ stuff plus. Usually MLB average is 100, so he's got 3 above-average pitches, and that's the exciting part of Grant Taylor. Probably pretty low zone percentage for him, 40.8%. The whole point of the excitement around him was he's out of LSU, second rounder, same rotation on Skeens, had some injury risk, but I think he had 32 strikeouts to 2 walks in his single-A performance, his single-A season this far. So his whole point was that he would be able to load up the zone. Seemed like he had a little bit of rust he was shaking off today. So we'll be
in the minor league exhibition game he was playing.
Still counts to me, damn it. Grant Taylor did an all right job in his first AFL game. Any other baseball
Way to go,
thoughts?
Grant.
Yeah, Grant. Any other thoughts on today? We have another show tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Love that the AL Central is acquitting itself very nicely in these playoffs. So, it gives the White Sox something to shoot for. Like, what's that? The rising tide, lifts all boats or something like that. Hopefully, the White Sox see the 3 teams remaining in the playoffs and playing well themselves. And man, after I said that Class A is the best pitcher in the game, that home run is still traveling. Kerry Carpenter absolutely terrorized that ball. I love that Tigers are doing what they're doing to the Guardians, and I love, even though I do not like the Kansas City Royals, I love that they're taking it to the Yankees, and all the series tied at 1. It's a excellent playoff.
They've been a hoot. Playoffs have been a hoot so far.
It's been much must-watch TV, and the one that's on right now, and then we got the game later on tonight at 8 o'clock. It's going to be excitement.
I think with 4 teams in the AL Central that were above 500, they still, because of the White Sox, were under 500 as an entire division. I think that was one of the Sox Machine fun stats, was that since they were, how many games? 80 games under 500? Yeah. So the Guardians were 23, then 10, 10, and 2. So
it's not 80.
That's not 80. so somehow they had 3 playoff teams and still were under 500 as a division. The White Sox just got everyone prepped. I mean, that's the real playoff team, right? I mean, that's the toughest team you had to face all year. And those guys handled them so easily. The Yankees are a breeze. We beat the Yankees 12-2 that one time.
I don't know. When we're talking about managers, did the Minnesota Twins say that Rocco's coming back?
They did, yes.
Okay. I don't know why, but okay.
It's Rocco's modern life.
Oh, I would love Rocco. I mean, how can you blame him for this year? They just cut that budget completely.
I mean, but they choked also at the end of the year.
because they had no money to spend. They had no players.
Players are on the field.
And they didn't cost as much as the other team. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his work at allchgo.com. He published a piece yesterday that you can go check out now. The man in the middle is Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. Hit that thumbs up button. And shout out to Edgardo. Stay safe if you're down in Florida. So shout out to everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.